Solve the equation using the quadratic formula. Now the quadratic formula says x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So what we need to do is find the values for a, b, and c, substitute, and simplify. For this quadratic equation up here, we have a equals negative 3, b equals negative 2, and c equals negative 1. So let's substitute. X equals negative b, so it's the negative of negative 2, plus or minus the square root of negative 2 squared, minus 4 times a, which is negative 3, and then times c, which is negative 1, all over 2a, so it's 2 times negative 3. A little simplification now, x equals, the negative of negative 2 is simply 2, and then plus or minus. Now let's figure out this b squared minus 4ac. You have negative 2 squared, which is 4, and then minus 4 times negative 3 times negative 1. Now, negative 4 times negative 3 is positive 12, and then times negative 1 is negative 12. So 4 minus 12 is negative 8. So it's going to be 2 plus or minus the square root of negative 8, all over 2 times negative 3, which is negative 6. Now simplifying further, this negative 8, you have a square root of a negative number, so that means you're going to have imaginary numbers. So x equals 2 plus or minus I square root of 8 all over negative 6. Now this square root 8 is 4 times 2. Square root of 4 times 2, and this 4 can come out, so you're going to get x equals 2 plus or minus 2I radical 2 all over negative 6. Okay, let me bring this back up top. X equals 2 plus or minus 2I radical 2 all over negative 6. There's a little more simplifying to do because this 2 and this 2 have a 2 in common with the 6 here. And there's not just the 2, there's this negative sign. So I'm going to simplify with the 2 first. X equals, and then it's going to be 1 plus or minus, and this 2 is going to reduce out also. So just an I radical 2 all over, and this is going to be a negative 3 left over here because the 2 is gone from this 6. And this negative sign can be reduced out also, and here's how this works. You're going to kind of bring it up top here. So x equals negative 1 plus or minus. Now the thing is, this negative sign also goes with the I and the radical 2, but it already says positive or negative. So if you bring up a negative sign, well, it's still going to be positive or negative because you can have either sign. That part doesn't change. So then the I radical 2 all over positive 3 now. So notice the difference. You have the negative 3, the negative sign's gone. It's up top with the 1 now instead. So this is simplified as much as possible. It's negative 1 plus or minus I radical 2 all over 3. And those are your answers.